Our next performer appeared actually on our very first ever 7 Stories Ever, and blew us away for a lot of reasons. Mostly because she said butt fuck and it was hilarious. But she's back for the first time and we're really excited to have her. To tell you a story called The History of Communications, please welcome Tracy Kate.
I'm so glad my dad is here. My grandfather, Stanley, left his home in Haverhill, Massachusetts when he was 14 years old and moved into the city of Boston and got a job at AT&T. He was hired as a telegraph messenger boy by New England Tel and Tel, the Tel and Tel being telegraph and telephone, so this is cutting edge stuff. And the year was 1903, which means my grandfather was born in 1889, which is crazy when you consider that telephones were only invented in 1876. So, y'all didn't know you were going to get a history lesson tonight, did you? But in the early 1800s, there were like armies of uniformed messenger boys delivering telegraphs all across America, which is crazy because that was their internet. That was immediacy in communication. The first telegraph was sent by Samuel Morse in 1844. Morse as in Morse code, as in dee 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 dee, you know, like we see in movies, or I see in movies. And they rip something off and somebody translates something and it's like, the war is over. But the first message that was sent from DC to Baltimore, and what Morse said was, "What hath God wrought?" It was a powerful moment, a biblical phrase, "What hath God wrought?" And if I may, from the year 2016, answer Mr. Morse, I would say what God hath wrought was a universe of text messaging that allows us to send messages to our friends across the country that say things like, "I just saw a deer eating a taco." So I'm not sure that that's where they were going with it, but that's where we are for sure. My grandfather Stanley, he worked at the phone company for 40 years. His job evolved from a messenger boy. He wasn't a messenger boy for 40 years, but he became a foreman that installed switchboards. Yeah, switchboards. And my grandmother was a switchboard operator, and so that's how they met. They were married in 1932. They had my dad in 1934. Round of applause for my dad. I did not say that, Dad. No, when you're 82, you automatically warrant a round of applause. But when my dad was a kid, the way that phones worked was you picked up the telephone and somebody was there waiting saying, "Number please," and you just said Arlington 3456 and they connected you, which if we all know how hard it is now if you call AT&T to get a human on the phone, it's like layer upon layer of robots, so that's different. The other cool thing that he talks about when he was a kid is that there were party lines, so neighbors shared, I took this telephone theme to heart, by the way. Neighbors shared telephone lines, and I think that was a cost-saving thing, but imagine picking up the telephone to use it, and Mr. Johnson next door is talking to like Mrs. Smith down the street, and maybe they're having an affair. I don't know, seems like all you'd have to do is listen. I just think that seems crazy to me. But fast forward to 1970 when I was born, phone technology obviously progressed. It was pretty easy. You picked up the phone, there was a dial tone. It was still pretty easy to get to a human, you press 0. I remember my older siblings, I'm the youngest of 5, goading me into calling the operator when I was like 5 and ordering a cheeseburger and french fries. And she did not deliver, but I do remember her laughing. But 3 things happened. When I was a kid, 3 things happened when you made a phone call. It was busy, it rang incessantly, or somebody picked up. There was no call waiting, there was no caller ID, There was certainly no voicemail message in the sky. There were no answering machines. Like, you had to pick up the phone to figure out who was there. And talking to like a boy on the phone in junior high school is like a rite of passage. It was sweaty palms, completely without substance, right? It was painful and awkward, but you did it. Rite of passage, man. And then there was no like transcript of what had happened, the way that things happened, the way that things must happen today. Now it's just poof, it was gone. You did it. Yes. Yeah, exactly. He's like, right? Yeah, I don't know. So the phone stores in the mall when I was a kid, they sold hardline telephones to match the decor of your house. So like the baby blue phone to match the baby blue bedroom, I don't know. All I knew is that I was zeroed in on the Mickey Mouse phone that was front and center, that was like, Mickey Mouse held the receiver here. I wanted that. Hello. No. It'd be funny if it made you sound like Mickey Mouse, but that's not what it did. But it was pretty cutting edge when my parents came home with a white phone that had a chalkboard built into it, that held the phone book inside, that matched our wallpaper that was green bamboo. That was cutting edge stuff right there. When you went to like the mall or the fair or wherever, and you had to call your parents for a ride, you'd have a set time. Usually it was like, hey, can I stay longer? But you'd had to use a payphone. So this is the show and tell portion of the night, but I wanted to show you guys, I found this thing, I've had it forever. For the record, let's state that it is, it's like a zipper pull that holds a quarter in it. Yes, thank you. I've had this forever. You attach it to some kid's jacket so that they have they have a quarter to be safe. And it does say patent pending on the back, so I'm thinking they went back to the drawing board when telephones started to cost like 35 cents or maybe 50 cents or something like that. But yeah. Okay, so my biggest moment, though, happened when I was in college. The biggest pre-cell phone moment happened in my life in college. Need a drink for that one. So I went to the University of Georgia, and I got a job as, woo, yay, yes. Yay, me, yes. I know my friend Grandma's here, she went to Georgia. Anyway, I got a job as a student rep selling IBM computers out of the bookstore to students and faculty and staff. Yes, that's what I did. And IBM gave you a computer and they gave you an electronic mail address. And so what would happen is you'd unplug your phone line and plug it into your computer, essentially, and you could send electronic messages. And the reason I say that, it was 1992, that we did not use the term email. And I knew two people that had electronic mail messages. Addresses, sorry. And so I would send, and that was my dad and my brother. They're the only two people that I knew that had, what was this? And so I thought it would be very poignant to send my dad the message, "What hath God wrought?" That's not what I said. It was really more like, "What's up? Like, this is so weird." It was a DOS screen, it was like it was really, what it reminded me of was Twitter. When that first started, I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. What is this? Nobody will ever use this. That's what email was like back then. So my dad and my brother and I would send these messages back and forth. But the moment that happened was when my roommate, Mary Ellen, walked into my room and she was like, "What? You're talking to your dad and your brother on the computer? What?" I mean, she looked at me like, I may as well have like picked up my shoe, held it to my ear, and been like, I can hear my dog in English on my shoe. Like, it just didn't happen. That was just not a thing back then. So for me, that was like, boom, when I heard about this theme tonight, that moment was huge, and it was the time before we could, you know, talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime from this tiny little box that we hold in our hand. And pretty sure that like Morse and my grandfather Stanley Kate would be impressed with that one. So that's my time. Thank you guys so much.